Hello everyone, Christopher Smith here, and today I'm going to make a video unboxing this Blood Angels Combat Patrol. So without further ado, let's get into it. So what we have here is an impulsor, three aggressors, some, what are these guys called? Incursors / infiltrators. You can make them as either one, and 5 intercessors with a Primaris librarian is the character in there. So let's get this box open. Just gotta get slide it out. Alright, so you have the manual. It's interesting that there's the manual for the whole kit as opposed to every individual kit. That's what they usually do. They have a manual for every individual kit, like there'd be a separate manual for the impulsor, the aggressors, etc. But I think it's interesting that there's one manual for the whole set. So yeah, we got some bases in a bag. That's also interesting, considering they usually come in like a completely sealed plastic baggie instead of one that's resealable. So the other bases, and then we have the Blood Angels upgrade sprue. There's one of them. Here's the other one. We have the Primaris librarian. Okay. And then here we have the impulsor. So this tank is a Primaris transport, and it can transport 6 models. Unfortunately, you cannot transport the aggressors. It's a big negative, but you can transport those intercessors in this thing. So I think it's pretty good. You can also give it a shield dome to make it tougher if you really want to transport some high value units. Make sure they don't die. Here's the other sprue for the impulsor. You can see some of the other options in the shield dome. We have like a missile launcher. I think that's called a Bellicostus missile launcher. This is part of the heavy stubber. I think it's called Skytalon heavy stubber. You have the orbital array. I think that calls down a big airstrike. Some of the heavy bolters slash frag launchers. I forget what they're called. Frag storm grenade launchers. That's what they're called. So there. I don't know exactly where the shield dome is. Oh yeah, I think we should get all these pieces here. That's the shield dome. Alright, next sprue. Here we have the aggressors. Let's see, flame gauntlets here. Heads. Some of the ammo packs. More flame gauntlets. The other frag storm grenade launchers. Here, here, and here. And then the flame gauntlets. And there's the heavy bolters. Or the bolt storm. There's some here. It should be. This is the multi-part kit, so you get both options in there. There's some here. Just a question of the last pair. Oh yes, right here. Yeah, that's always good. And next up, we have the Intercessor squad. So, flip this up right side up. We have the heads here, shoulder pads, and those Blood Angels upgrade sprues can be used to modify the Intercessor squad. Bolters, all sorts. Yeah, it's pretty good. Sprue, pretty classic. You're always going to want intercessors if you have a Space Marine army. But I'm actually going to be building my intercessors as Death Company intercessors. And I'm just going to give them a bunch of spare chainswords and bolt pistols I have for them. And they're going to be going in the impulsor as a transport for them. That's my tactic so far. And Last but certainly not least, we have the Incursors / Infiltrators. So we have, it's just half the squad. Same thing with the Intercessors. So you have half of each, and basically, I think in a normal 10-man squad, you get 2 sprues, and they're both, or 2 sprues like this. They're both identical. So we got the Haywire Mine for the Incursors. Pointing hands, of course, it's always nice. Guy holding the Haywire Mine. A whole bunch of heads, because there is the head option for both squads, the Incursors and Infiltrators, so they have to make sure of that. And then yeah, backpacks, weapons. I'm personally going to be building them as Incursors because I already have Infiltrators. We have a decal sheet for Blood Angels. It's always nice to have a decal sheet. And then the hover stand for the impulsor. Big, I think this is a 100mm base or something like that. So we got a 100mm base. And we have a small base. At first I wasn't really sure what this was for, but now I think it's for the Haywire Mine for the Incursors. So you can stick the Haywire Mine on there to represent it in game. Oh, that's what I think it's for. So yeah, basically, I think this is actually a really good Blood Angels army. I saw, like, the only thing that's really bad with it, or like not optimal for the Blood Angels, is the librarian. But librarians are always useful to have because, so yeah, I think this is a pretty good start because you're going to want to have those transports if you're running Death Company Intercessors. Your Aggressors are always a very strong unit, very tough, tanky, and they can definitely put out a lot of firepower if you need them to. And the Intercessors, pretty classic unit. I mean, you can build them as Death Company Intercessors or just regular Intercessors. And if you were to use the bullet guns on them, I'd definitely recommend the auto bolt rifles because it really can, or the stalker bolt rifles because you get 2 damage on the stalker bolt rifles, so they'll be able to kill Primaris Marines in 1 wound, and then or like 1 wounding hit that goes past their armor save. And the auto bolt rifles can just put out so many shots. So those are the 2 that I would recommend if you're actually going to run them as Intercessors. Yeah. But I'm personally going to run them as Death Company Intercessors and give them chainswords and bolt pistols. Because that's just, they're an assault unit, you know? Get that extra AP -1 and that extra attack. Which you could get so many attacks with those Death Company Intercessors. They just have trouble getting up the field. And that's why I'm going to stick them in the impulsor. Basically, I think, so you get 3 attacks base. With Death Company Intercessors, you get an extra 1 for Shock Assault. You get an extra 1 for the Blood Angels Combat Doctrine. And then you get an extra 1 for Black Rage because of their Death Company. So you get 6 attacks per guy. Oh yeah, and then if you have the Chainsword on them, you get an extra attack there. So you get 7 attacks per guy, which is crazy. For a 5-man squad, that'd be like 35 attacks. That's crazy. But yeah, I think I'm going to arm the Sergeant with a Thunder Hammer. So you get 7 times 4 is 28. So you get 28 chainsword attacks at AP -1 with these guys. And then you get basically 6 Thunder Hammer attacks, which is pretty crazy. Just getting them up the field is the real problem with that unit. And then I think these Incursors and Infiltrators are a really great unit, regardless of if you build them as Incursors or Infiltrators. They're pretty good because, well, Infiltrators, they have the 12-inch anti-deep strike aura, which really prevents, it can stop a lot of your enemies, like, powerful deep strike units, like Abaddon the Despoiler, if he's going to deep strike in with a bunch of Terminators, or, like, Blood Angel Sanguinary Guard, they're deep striking in. That would be just 2 examples from what I've played before. Those units are really powerful when they deep strike in, and having that extra, making it 12 inches instead of 9 inches is a really powerful ability. And but they are kind of expensive at 120 points for a 5-man squad, and 240 points for a 10-man squad. I don't really think you'd want to run them as 10-man, but and they've got a whole bunch of expensive upgrades that make them more durable. Like the Helix Adept can give them a 5-up feel no pain, I think, and regain wounds. I think that's what he does. Not really sure. Don't really know, but I never use them. And then you can also get a comms array, which can make your buffs basically longer. So he basically makes the guys like auras from captains and lieutenants. They can like hit them no matter where they are on the battlefield. Only the Phobos captain and Phobos lieutenant, though. Those are the only units that it works for. So they are pretty strong units, except for I think their shooting is a bit underwhelming because you only get 2 shots if you stand still because of bolter discipline, and there's no AP on it. So if you really want, they really aren't going to achieve much in terms of shooting. So I wouldn't really expect much from them. Yeah, but the Incursors are actually really good too, because both the Incursors and Infiltrators can infiltrate at the start of the game. So it's 9 inches away from the enemy deployment zone, anywhere on the field. It means you can get an early jump on objectives. But also the Incursors, they don't have that 12-inch deep strike aura, but they have the paired combat blades, which gives them an AP -1 strength users damage 1 weapon for close combat, which is really useful. If you want to get some early charges, you can get AP -1 is where you want to be at, because most models either have 3-up or 4-up saves, and reducing their efficiency and durability is really strong, I think, at least. Both units, I don't really think their shooting's much to talk about, and I don't really know how good the Haywire Mine is, but it might be worth it in some situations, but I really take them as bare bones squads most of the time. That's really how I'd run them. So I mean, you could come up with some special castle with the Haywire Mine, or like preventing your enemy. I think you could definitely come up with something there, but for me personally, I think I'm going to run them at bare bones squads. Maybe I'll try out a bit of the other options, but yeah, we'll see. And then as far as the aggressors go, I haven't had any in my army so far. And I know they can put out an absolutely ungodly amount of shots with all those bolters and like the frag storm grenade launchers, and I think that's what I'm going to run them as, the bolters and the frag storm grenade launchers, just because you get 3 shots per hand, so that's 6 shots per guy, and you get 3 guys. So what is that, 18 shots? And then you get the frag storm grenade launchers too, which are pretty friggin' strong, and then they want to be close up too, so you can get power fist attacks in there too if you don't kill your target. I just think they can put out an ungodly amount of firepower and then take a whole bunch back. So I think they'd be a fairly good distraction unit, and if they get close enough, they get close enough, and they can take an objective from the enemy. I think the Flamers are also a decent pick, but yeah, it's just that range, because they're very slow moving. They only move 5 inches, so I think the 12-inch range might inhibit you, but it could definitely be a good pick. If you took a repulsor and put them in as a transport, that'd be pretty cool too. As far as the impulsor goes, can't transport the aggressors, which is a bit of a downside. So if you want to run it, you probably are, like, for a transport, you're either going to be transporting just regular intercessors, incursors and stuff like that, or like veteran intercessors. You could transport Blade Guard in there, which would be pretty strong, I think, because they're not Gravis. So you could transport some pretty strong units these days. Assault intercessors, I think. Yeah, you can transport 6 characters, which I don't know if you really want to do, because you don't want to get that destroyed and have them in the middle of the field. But yeah, I think pretty good transport. I'd probably take it, like, I wouldn't really use it as a big fire support platform. It could definitely do that, but I don't think I'm going to pay the extra points for that. I'm going to give it a shield dome instead, because I really want the units that are going into it to get in close combat, just because I think if they get stuck out in the middle of nowhere, they're not going to get anywhere. So those Death Company intercessors. I'm also going to be sticking Mephiston in there with him, and just using, like, just as protection for the first couple turns, because I find Mephiston, usually when I play him, he dies pretty quickly. He gets 1 charge off. So I'm going to use it as a transport first couple turns, get him up the board. I know he has Wings of Sanguinius, but yeah, I just want to, like, surprise the enemy with a bunch of Death Company intercessors and Mephiston. I think that'd be a pretty cool counter ambush strategy. I think all the other options are pretty good, though. Like, you can't go wrong with them as long as you are using them well. So, yeah. And the weakest part of the army, I'd say, is definitely this librarian. Because, well, if you have Mephiston in your army or librarian dreadnought, you're not really going to need another librarian. I mean, sometimes they can provide good buffs, like the psychic discipline, like you can give your guys 5-up invulnerable saves and stuff. I think that's pretty useful. But usually I only run like 1 or 2 psychers in my army, so he's definitely the weakest part if you've already got him. But if you don't already have him, he can be a powerful combat character because of Wings of Sanguinius and the quickening. If you want him to be, he can be your own little mini Mephiston if you give him those powers and you give him the Chief Librarian upgrade. Like, he can be a little mini Mephiston for sure and be pretty scary. So yeah, that's basically my rundown of the unit strategy, and hope you had a good time watching my unboxing of this combat patrol. See you later. Have a good day.